mic on? There we go. Good morning. I think most of you know, but my name is Jennifer Kenerson, and I am the Dean of Academic Affairs here. I have been at Taft for 26 years now, and this is actually my first ever morning meeting talk. Mr. Kenerson and I have raised our 3 boys here on campus, and our whole life is here. I love what I do, and what gets me out of bed in the morning is working with you all to navigate the academic world we live in and to teach my math class. However, being a scholar these days is complicated. What does being a scholar in the digital age mean to you? You all are here to learn, explore, challenge, write, think critically, collaborate, have fun, smile, paint, sing, run, laugh, and play. But first and foremost, you are Taft students. It is not easy to be a Taft student in the 21st century. There are forces pulling you in multiple directions. Scholarship appears in varied forms and happens in varied locations. Ideas have value and need to be attributed to the proper source, whether that be through proper citations, a note at the end of your homework in an informal setting, or mentioning to your teacher that you had help with an assignment. When I was in school, cheating was pretty simple and consisted of 2 forms. You could look over at another classmate's paper during an assessment and copy the answers down, or you went to the library, looked up a book, wrote quotes from the book down on a piece of paper or on your hand, and then wrote it again in a paper you were submitting and called it your own work. It took time and effort to cheat that way. Nowadays, all you have to do is type a key phrase into your device, and all you ever wanted to know about a subject pops right up. Copy, screenshot, paste, and voila, you have a paper. Or you use a translator to translate your paper from English to German perfectly, even though you might only be in German 2. We don't offer German, by the way. What do all these pictures that I have shown say to you? What's happening here? Students are collaborating, discussing, challenging, having fun. But there is so much more gray area now. When are you allowed to collaborate? When are you supposed to have original thoughts? When can you get help with your homework? What sources on the internet are appropriate and useful and reliable? All good questions and ones that you need to be asking your teachers and each other all of the time. The conversation about scholarship needs to be ongoing and evolving. Ask your teachers if you're unclear about an assignment. How terrific would it be if an academic honor code violation was avoided because you asked questions and got clarifications about an assignment? Last year, we had 13 honor code violations that resulted in an honor court, most of which ended in suspensions. Many other conversations took place in my office that didn't lead to an honor court. 13 is triple the number that we have had over the past few years. So we as a faculty said to ourselves, what can we do better? From these conversations, a committee was formed and charged with rewriting our academic honesty statement, which can be found on page 7 of the student handbook that I know you've all read. The beginning reads, all Taft students are scholars. They seek knowledge, understanding, and mastery in an academic setting. They find joy in collaborating with others, exploring new ideas, and becoming lifelong learners. Then it continues later. From a place of honesty and integrity, Taft scholars inquire, interrogate, and discover and synthesize viewpoints in individual and collaborative settings, while acknowledging the intrinsic value of ideas by honoring others' intellectual contributions. And we also wrote a set of norms. All students must be honest with respect to all academic matters. Students must generate and submit work that is exclusively their own unless collaboration is permitted and appropriately acknowledged. Students must, when collaborating with others, abide by the teacher-prescribed guidelines. Students must appropriately cite works or individuals, other students, faculty, tutors, consulted. Students must sit for assessments, including exams, without assistance from others or from unapproved devices. And students must not copy or cheat from other students' work. In addition, we have a pledge that we ask you to sign at the end of each graded assignment. I pledge my honor that I have neither given nor received aid on this assignment. Often, this is abbreviated to, I pledge my honor, and then signed. When a student violates one of these above points, we treat the situation extremely seriously. Oftentimes, students are overloaded and stressed, and poor time management leads to taking actions you would not normally take. Mr. McMullen spoke about stress to the faculty at opening school meetings. How can we help our students manage their stress better so they can be healthier and happier? He referenced a study and a TED Talk by Kelly McGonigal, How to Make Stress Your Friend. I'll show you a clip of that talk now.
And it has to do with stress. For years, I've been telling people stress makes you sick. It increases the risk of everything from the common cold to cardiovascular disease. Basically, I've turned stress into the enemy. But I've changed my mind about stress. And today, I want to change yours. Let me start with the study that made me rethink my whole approach to stress. This study tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? And then they used public death records to find out who died. Okay, some bad news first. People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of dying. But that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. People who experienced a lot of stress but did not view stress as harmful were no more likely to die. In fact, they had the lowest risk of dying of anyone in the study, including people who had relatively little stress. Now, the researchers estimated that over the 8 years they were tracking deaths, 182,000 Americans died prematurely, not from stress, but from the belief that stress is bad for you. That is over.
So we need to shift our thinking about stress. Stress isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can actually be a good thing. It releases certain hormones that tell your body that you're ready to take on a challenge. If we have a positive attitude about stress, manage it well, then hopefully we won't have any honor code violations. My last point is regarding cell phones. I can hear my boys groaning now, as this is a topic of conversation and contention in our house all the time. Cell phones are a distraction. However, they are an essential part of our culture now, and they aren't going away. But how can we manage our use of them better? Cell phones and technology in general were at the core of most of the honor code violations last year. Ms. Leal turned me on to an NPR podcast recently that validates our policy of asking you to, quote, park your cell phone in the classroom. According to NPR, quote, a new study finds that a person's attention is depleted just by having a smartphone in sight. This got Adrian Ward from the University of Texas and the other researcher, Martin Boss, thinking, if their brains were occupied at least a little by feeling their phones calling out to them, what effect might this have on their mental abilities? So along with co-authors Kristen Duke and Alec Neasy, they conducted a series of experiments. They had volunteers come in to take cognitive tests, but there was a catch. Some volunteers were told to leave their smartphones in another room. Some were told to leave their phones in a bag or a pocket, and others were told to leave their phones on the desk next to them as they took the test. Now, all the phones were on silent. But big differences emerged between the volunteers as they took the test, especially when it came to understanding and solving novel problems. What they found is that people did better on these tasks the farther their phones were from them. So those who had their phones in another room did significantly better than those who had their phones on the desk right in front of them. And those who had their phones in their pockets or their bags were sort of in the middle between those two. They're saying the devices have a small but persistent effect. So please remember these facts and put your phone on silent and away from you when you're working. This week, you will be asked to read and electronically sign an academic honesty statement in your English class, acknowledging that you understand TAF's expectations around scholarship. This form will live on your PowerSchool page as a reminder to you the pledge that you have made to be a student here. So ask questions, challenge each other, know that we understand how difficult it is to be a scholar in the digital age, and we are here to support and encourage you in this endeavor. Thank you.